Hey, hey, Charles.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. Yeah, I'm just getting this thing geared up. It says there's some issues, but I'm going to pretend there aren't any. It says it's not recording very well, but we'll see. Yeah, well, there were some pretty good dreams. Did you do any work with them?
Um, Not exactly. Um, I just have been thinking about things and been really trying to figure out exactly what I need to change a bunch of habits and things, but what exactly am I going to do when I remove the habits that I already have? I'm trying to figure out what to replace them with.
Well, that's what we tell or I tell our grandson is, he's having all these issues with doing school from home, and my wife's just been going over there. It just takes 2 or 3 days to change a habit. So, but I'm not exactly
Yeah.
sure what the specifics are that you're talking about. But I mean, I know it's I mean, really, what you need to do is to ask the Great Mother what to do. She wants to provide you with a new outer attitude. And what does she mean by that? I mean, help me change my outer attitude so that the brown-haired anima girl wants to um, be my life partner. You know, I mean, that's a start. Now, exactly what that entails, I'm not sure, but I think part of it means that we walk on the ground with our hands and our feet, you know, and we not only walk with our feet, but we walk with our hands, at least figuratively, that we are always in touch both with our hands and our feet, with the grounded uh, being, with grounded, earthly, feminine being, you know. Hey, Gary, how's it going?
Good. I was traveling on Sunday.
Oh, that's okay.
So I'm going to have to watch the other one up on YouTube.
Yes, I mean, we're going to just review it next time. Because we had so many people here, I did not get. I thought it was a little garbly, so I'm going to try to make it a little more coherent. But it
Oh my
was,
gosh. Yours always are just like, I'm just always blown away by how, like all the pieces you can pull together. So,
well, and this visions seminar is the first one is really where he tells the difference between a dream and a vision. What's the
mm,
difference? And and it has to do somewhat with what's the difference between a shaman and a saint, and what's the difference between, well, the difference between a shaman and a saint, and this was just so interesting, is one of his Peter Baines, who's is one of his probably his biggest collaborators, said that the where the shamans um, whole profession is based on the relationship with the anima, the saint's profession is based on excluding the anima and living in isolated absolutism.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing. And then,
Oh,
but
wow. That's just fascinating.
yeah, but young,
Because you're right. Because I mean, the shaman, because that is just like what he is doing is pure relatedness, like he is, sort of taking care of his village and I guess whoever else comes to him for help. And and it's a very passionate thing. Whereas the saint is kind of beyond all of that.
well, yeah,
It's like a complete rejection of that.
he wants to exclude the anima. Hi, Roy. the only way he can achieve this isolated absolutism is through exclusion of the anima. And then Jung says, well, you are exactly right, except you can also say that the shaman needs nature relatedness, because he says anima and nature are the same thing. So, and the saint needs to separate himself from nature. He says, but they're both products of the unconscious.
So the saint is absolute what again? I need to write this down.
Isolated absolutism.
Isolated absolutism.
And the
Oh my
reason
gosh.
it achieves that is through excluding the anima, where the shaman, his whole profession is based on anima relatedness. Now, I don't know if you saw Charles' dream this
I haven't, yeah, I
Yeah,
only
don't
got
worry
back a few hours ago, so I've been catching up and stuff. But
Well,
I'm gonna look at how long was it?
it was about an hour and 20 minutes, but you know, I think it's
How long?
first 20 minutes or so we just talked generally.
Okay.
The first dream that Charles had an element of isolated absolutism in it. He is talking about the elemental energies that come out of the polarity, magnetism and electricity, and it has the secret of the universe in it, you know. And then he meets this anima who wants him to tell her about it. She's very patient, and she's saying, but she wants him to explain it in terms of the Christ, the personification of this separation from the body, basically. And then the anima takes him to the love grotto, you know, and where they can be intimate. So she's really saying, you think that's the mystery of the universe? I'm going to show you what the real mystery of the universe is.
Right.
Come to my
it
love.
Seems like it's like a whole lesson on relatedness versus abstraction.
Right. And yet she doesn't argue with the dream ego. She just, and the second dream was even more spectacular. It's where he is running on all fours through the forest on his hands and his feet. And through this connection with the earth, not just with his hands or feet, but his hands are figuratively connected with the earth as well. The brown haired anima shows up, the most beautiful being in the world. And he gets up, and then the great mother, the old wise woman, comes and says, are you interested? Well, first of all, he's returning to his place of birth, but he doesn't remember it. And really it's the home, all of our homelands, the one that we really came from, not the one where our birthplace is mentioned. But he's there, and it's filled with the most fabulous churches and castles, you know. So each one represents the richness of the archetypal past, you know, and how rich it is. And then so after running on all fours, this summons the brown-haired anima, and she's absolutely ravishingly beautiful. And then the wise old woman comes and says to him, he says, are you interested in the brown-haired girl? Yes, I'm interested. Well, you need some new clothes. You need a different outer attitude.
Yeah, you need a connection to the earth.
Well, you need a but there has to be a persona that you establish when you're connected with the earth. And it needs so we need a different outer attitude. And so then as they're going into this town that was our birthplace, but is unknown to us, then we see a church, and there is a wedding taking place, or the Hieros Gamos. So, I mean, this is this is
Wow,
a
what a beautiful
very,
dream.
yeah, well, that's
And
what I'm saying.
two.
It's a very, it is, compare that with the first dream, which was this very stark aspect, stark yet simple. First, the starkness of the wisdom of the universe has to do with the Thunderbolt project and with this electrical aspect. And I mean, to me, it was so instructive to myself. Um, Charles, do you have anything to say about it? I mean, you've been thinking about it. We did it about noon. I just wondered if you had any comments about it, or
I mean, not really. It's been kind of very. It's been sort of kind of holding on to it, and
Yeah.
it's been a very gentle and subtle contemplation of it.
yes, it's now this is one thing that like Young says. Hi, Dawn. By the way, Young says that when Peter Baines says the difference between a shaman and the saint is the shaman's whole métier, he calls it, but it's his profession, is based on his relationship with the anima. And the fact that he is always a social personage. He cannot leave the, he may be singled out, but he's a very vibrant part of the community, where the saint excludes the anima to achieve its isolated absolutism, which sort of represents the Thunderbolt project. But I mean, the idea is this that represents a mystery of the universe, but it's the mystery of the universe in which the dewdrop of the cosmic sea dissolves. Okay. Now compare that with the blessed greenness of the Hildegard den Bingen, the flowering world, the ivy and the trees and the rootedness. Now this is also a mystery of the universe. Yes, but it's the one that we're a part of based on 99.9% of who we are biologically. And then we have 0.1% of this awareness, which thinks it's in charge and thinks that it possesses the mystery of the universe. The body is what possesses the mystery of the universe. And this is what Hermes Trismegistus says when he experiences Christ's whiteness in the upper seventh heaven. He's saying, no. Its strength is perfected when it returns to the earth and turns red, the same color as the blood, because we're not bloodless. We are full of warm blood, and we need to walk on the earth with our hands, figuratively. I mean, we need to be very close to the rootedness in the chthonic world, and it is here that the richness of being alive is. I mean, that's what it means to be born. What does awareness mean without birth and without a body? Let's say you were just a light creature who lived in the black depths of space, and there's no form, no blue planet covered with clouds, with all these mountains and valleys and the buzz of bees and the beautiful aroma of the flowers. And Roy, you know more about the plant world than anybody does, But anyway, I'm just saying that was an extremely beautiful dream. I kind of experienced, had a pretty good experience this morning too. It was the first time I've ever, I go into this process of going into a vacuum. So I ask Inanna to help me remove, this horrible stench of my own thinking, you know, and you know where Barbara Hanna says sometimes, hi Tim, there's just this sudden drop. Well, instead of steps, suddenly boom, it's just a big drop. You know, like you're dropping into a pit. Well, I don't want to drop in the pit. So I figure a way around it. And so for 7 gates, we go around it. And then when I come out of the 7th gate, suddenly it's just moving images, you know. There's a, first of all, I see a fist. It's my fist, and it has a black cylinder in it, you know. And I ask, what's that about? Well, that's the token that lets you into this world. Now, I'm not sure what it means. But then the anima very, you know, sensually puts a grape in her mouth, you know. And then she reaches up to a black bird, and a great big ball of light appears underneath it, and it flies away, you know. And then it was about that time I was sort of drifting off. There was, and the alarm rings, and it's time to, you know, leave. And I'm just, this is as rich of an imagery as I've ever experienced. And so I say, thank you very much for this. I'm very grateful. And suddenly, over a rock, jumps a golden girl with very slender ram's horns. You know, she jumps over the rock. You know, I mean, that was just extremely surprised. You know, I'm just about ready to get up and go take a shower, and that was the last thing I saw. You know, and now I want to really do some work with that. But anyway, how's everybody doing? Everybody have a good Christmas? Yeah. Does Roy or Tim or Gary have any dreams that they want to discuss?
I've got one I've been,
Okay. Yeah,
been
sure.
thinking about sharing.
Yeah, well, go right ahead. I mean, we've been doing some good work with these dreams, I think.
I'm gonna have to find it here. I've got a series of dreams recently involving multiple women, and they have some kind of common characteristics, but there's a couple that are pretty simple. Maybe the one I'll share is, I don't see the narrative here, but I can look for that later. I go to visit a house down the street, apparently at the invitation of this young woman. And there are 4 women in this house. And the youngest one apparently invited me over. So I go over to this house and I'm walking around. It's kind of a museum-like house with all these fascinating objects. And suddenly this older woman comes in and discovers me there and just throws a fit and throws me out. And I don't even have a chance to say, well, geez, I was invited over by somebody that lives here. So I find myself out in the street just thinking, my gosh, how did this happen? And I have both a sense of guilt for not being able to foresee this confrontation, and also kind of a sense of justification. So there we have it.
Okay, well, Now, this is very similar to the woman in the dream about the diorama. Do you think, or not?
Yeah. And
The old woman.
it's similar to other dreams I've had in the last month or so, where there's more than one woman and there's some kind of contention.
Well, yeah, and now I'm just saying off the top of my head that the hi Sarah and Carl, just getting started here on Tim's
Hey,
dream.
Greg. Hey, Tim.
Hi. Yeah. You know, there's this is a dream. Let's just go through it, because what I've kind of got a guess about who this old woman is, but I'm just a guess. Okay. We visit a house down the street where there are 4 women that live there. So they form a quaternity. Now, a quaternity of what? It would probably represent the feminine aspect of our 4 functions, probably. And the youngest one asks us over. You know, I would almost think that this was probably the inferior function that invites us, but it's a 4-fold anima, you know, anyway. And we go over to the house. Now, you haven't seen the women yet. You're just kind of in the vestibule, correct or not?
Yeah, my recollection is that they haven't shown up,
No.
or that they're somewhere else.
You're expecting to see 4 women there. And the one who invited you was the one who was the most youthful one, you know. So, I mean, she would be the, I mean, if you know, typically the 4 women are, you have the nymph-like woman, you have the a older woman who is not a nymph, you have the mother of the children, and then the wise old woman. You know, that's typically the 4. You know, but anyway, so we go into a home that seems to be the display area for the 10,000 things, you know, the fascination of the 10,000 things. So we go to the place of the 10,000 things. That's where the 4-fold anima lives, you know, and we're just looking at all these fascinating objects, each one more numinous than the other. And now suddenly, who shows up? Now, I'm guessing that this is the old witch. So she is represents pretty much the mother complex, something to do with a negative. There's the promise of the positive aspect, relatedness to the feminine, and then there is this other aspect where she is instead of trying to imprison us, which she normally does, she tries to forcibly expel us, and she's done this a couple times now. You know, I mean, with the diorama, she was more saying something like that you treat this mystery as if it's a theological issue, and it really isn't. You know, it has to do with life. Now, in this case, she's kind of saying that this she is barring the way to the 4-fold anima. So the guardian keeper of the entrance to the 4-fold anima is not going to allow us in. You know, there's a guardian of the house of the 4-fold anima who's invited us in, and she's saying that we have not deserved this visitation rights at this point, or we're not eligible to visit the fourfold anima. And so then we're out on the street, and so now we've been expelled from the realm of the fourfold anima, where the fourfold anima lives is full of numinous things, full of fascinating objects. And this is really where psyche longs to be. It longs to be there. But then this aspect of the sort of almost an aspect of the feminine that is saying, no, you're not ready for this. It's the wise old woman again, probably saying that we're too theological, to participate with the fourfold anima. So we're back out on the street, and we've got, we both have we did not foresee this confrontation. And secondly, we don't think we deserved it because we were invited there by the anima. So what aspect of the feminine bars us from the central sanctuary of the fourfold anima? Gary, what do you think?
Well, I love what you've done with it so far, but to me, I think it's like I think he's actually deserving of being there with the fourfold anima and this, this passion and this, these incredible things to see and to join with. And it's like the angry mother. It's the terrible mother, that's throwing him out really for no reason. I mean, just sheer anger that, that he's given up one side and taken on like a completely different thing. So, I don't think that his being thrown out was justified at all. I think, but what we see are two massively different elements playing out, in his psyche. And it's like, which one will be the dominant in the end? Will he realign with the terrible mother or witch, or will it be to the passionate fourfold anima, which may be against current beliefs too.
Yeah, there's two aspects of this feminine, and I've experienced them both, by the way. The one is the one that accepts us into the realm, and suddenly that which we lack is found, is filling the vacuum within us, and 4 times. And then, but what I also experienced was a woman who said, you don't understand women. You have no understanding of women. Your understanding of women makes you ineligible to be here, and that's what I experienced. I'm not saying Tim.
It's funny. I've also had that experience too in the dream with the the anima, but
you're not included.
You're not included.
We're gonna have I had 5 friends. I'm gonna cut it down to 3.
Right.
Gary's not one of them.
Right.
Roy, what do you?
Nice way to put it.
Yes, but I mean, it's a very interesting commentary that we need to hear. What do you think, Roy?
Yeah, it reminds me of that house he went to, and the young girl was showing him around, and he wasn't paying any attention to the people and their hospitality. He's cold and abstract. He goes back to get his shoes and socks, might have to do with humility. He doesn't understand the women's realm, what they're about. And that's why the old woman's on him. He's going to turn the woman into the angry woman because of his attitude. He doesn't comprehend what's going on, but she's becoming very impatient with him.
Yeah, well, I had one woman dump me because she said that she didn't want to be put on a pedestal. And then I told the anima the other day, I just threw an I Ching saying, you know, I'm so grateful to you, and I'm devoted to you. You know, I just want you to know that. And the I Ching came up with this changing line saying, no woman appreciates such idolatry. You know, you treat me as a living being. What you're doing is not welcome here, you know. What, Sarah, do you have any thoughts about it? Now, just, you know, being excluded, being left out of the house of of everything that we're longing for, and we're excluded and barred from it.
I guess maybe you're excluded and barred from it. Maybe because even though it's something that you're longing for, you don't feel worthy. You know, something inside of you doesn't feel worthy yet to have that. So it's really, you're not accepting yourself to be worthy enough. So it's being shown to you through the women telling you no, you know, like first you were invited and now they're like, no, get out of here. Because you don't feel like you deserve, part of you maybe doesn't feel like you deserve to be there yet.
Well, and there's two, you know, if you look at Eric Neumann's diagram of from the Great Mother, you know, what he has is there's two axes, and one axis has to do with the elemental feminine, and this is what has to do with the biological feminine, you know, and there is the one, the devouring mother, and there's Sophia, and in the middle is the Great Mother. Okay, now that's the biological feminine, you know, and then there is the transformative feminine, which is the anima. She's not the elemental feminine, the one that exists. She's not as related to the earth as she's the transformative anima, and she's the one who's the bridge to the other side, you know, and she's also the projection of our anima image is part of her role too. But she is either the positive transformation or she's the negative transformation. That those two poles, and they have to do with on the positive side, she really is creating personality number two, you know, the one who has a foot in both worlds, and she's acting somewhat like Hermes. And on the negative side, it has to do with, since ego is not going to do this, then we're going to transform you a different way. And that is through taking your libido away from you, pulling it out from under you, either with alcohol or with drugs or with sex or with gambling or with some other compulsion that's going to have us exist in a seemingly other world, but it's an other, it's the negative other world, the negative transformation. But so I think that this witch would be on the opposite side. Great Mother's in the middle of all four, you know, but she's the woman who bars, the one who's not nurturing, the one who rejects her children, you know, is the old witch, you know, and the one that snares us with addiction is the young witch, you know, and then you have the transformative anima, and then you have something like the Madonna, but it's more like Sophia, you know, it's more classically Sophia.
I wanted
Charles,
to add,
yeah, go
I
ahead,
wanted
Tim.
to add that that my sense of this encounter is that the young one is the muse that I have the most sort of facility
Exactly.
with. And she's the one that I've always acknowledged, and so she feels like kind of my friend and the one that has invited me over there. And the old one feels more like the historical woman, the ancient woman that has been neglected and abused by men throughout history, and maybe by the patriarchy. And I also wanted to reply to a couple questions here by Carl. One is, did they say why they threw you out? And again, I don't have a memory of the conversation. My feeling is that I wasn't welcome because either I wasn't invited by the old person or by the maybe by the whole conglomerate of the women in the house, that somehow I'm taking this invitation too far. Or maybe it was that I find myself in the house and I don't remember how I got in, like I just opened the door and walked in.
Yeah, well, and I would say, you know, when I got rejected by the feminine, it was because my, you know, young muse was a creation of my own imagination. You know, it didn't exist in the outer world, and it was, you know, an aspect of myself that was totally unreal. You know, and that was why she told me that, you know, she didn't, and she doesn't welcome such idolatry. You know, don't bring that to me. But again, I think this relationship with which you've had with the muse for some time now is how does this relate to the genuine feminine in the earth and in the feminine who is closely related to the growing rootedness, you know, and what does she think? Is this muse we have a poor masculine imitation of the real thing and is really sort of artificial and sterile? And then, but I still, that doesn't explain this other aspect. What, Charles or Carl, do you have any comments? I'm just going to show this real quick. See if I can show this real quick. Here's the, I just want to show, here's the negative anima, our negative mother over here, the terrible mother. Okay, and there's in the middle, the great mother, and then up here is the good mother, which is Isis, Demeter, Mary, and then over here I got it mixed up. This is over here is the positive anima, inspiration mysteries, the positive transformation character, and then over here is the negative, the mysteries of drunkenness. Okay, and these mysteries up here are the vegetation mysteries of the good mother. And over here are the death mysteries, womb and the tomb, you know. So you got the inspirational mysteries, which have to do with the feminine, the mysteries of drunkenness, which have to do with the feminine, the vegetation mysteries are the ones of rootedness, and then the death mysteries, which are all related to the feminine. Pardon me?
Can you just zoom out a little bit so I can see that whole thing?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Now I will email this out, but it's something to understand you said at the beginning that you have all these anima figures, you know, but you can see the ones that the feminine can represent, you know, there's a lot of them, you know, but go ahead, Charles or Carl, were you going to say something?
I'm a little lost, but I like what Sarah was saying. That seemed to strike a chord with me. I know, I mean, I've had anima dreams where she said she's leaving and she's never coming back. and I jumped out a second story window, and I was kind of lying to her, and I was like, I'm in love with you, don't leave. And I was like, I'm full of it. Like, I'm not particularly in love with this particular anima figure. But then I see her in other dreams, you know, in following nights, so in different forms. I would just be wondering what's going on. Like, are you feeling stuck in your art? Are you feeling uninspired? What's going on with that, Tim?
Well, a couple of things. One kind of unusual development was when my brother-in-law died a couple of months ago.
Oh,
My
sorry.
inspiration just totally disappeared.
Yeah.
And that was really alarming to me because I think that only happened once before in my whole life, and that was when my parents died. But then, since then, and partly because of this group and my own active imagination, I've been trying to dialogue more with those characters. And what that has done, I think, is expand the field. And so now there's not just this one anima figure, but all of a sudden there's multiples.
Yeah.
And so I think that's progress, and it maybe just makes me realize that there are other elements of the feminine that I need to get in touch with that I haven't quite been so interested in as I have been the muse.
Yeah. I don't know if I have anything really to add to what anybody else said. I mean, I've had dreams where the anima figure is Zoe Deschanel, and others where she's, I think it's still an anima figure, like kind of an ugly figure skater, or like a middle-aged lady with a scarred cheek, and I don't know. I don't really have anything to add, really, I guess, but I have to hear more about it and think about it, I guess. Let it do.
Yeah, and Charles told me a dream today where he is running on all fours with his hands and through doing this beautiful, which hasn't appeared very often, at least I've seen in his dreams, this beautiful brown-haired woman appears, who he becomes infatuated with. Then an old wise woman comes, and she doesn't bar him from this woman, but he asks him, "Are you interested in her?" And he says, "Yes, I am interested in her." And she says, "Well, you need some new clothes." In other words, you need another outer attitude, you know. So but the idea was just so compelling to me. How do we beckon this anima?
Yeah.
This real womanly anima is not only must our feet be planted firmly on the ground, but figuratively so should our hands be. You know, I mean, we need to be working out of the instinctive aspect. And then there was a dream that precipitated that, where Charles' anima is asking him to explain a very esoteric and abstract mystery. And she's listening very patiently. Now, my mother used to do this to me. I would explain to her very abstract and esoteric mysteries which she had no understanding or interest in, and yet she listens patiently. And while Charles' anima is listening, she leads him to the love grotto, and there he's going to experience another mystery of the universe with her. You know, so which mystery of the universe has the highest value? Is it the one where the masculine and the feminine in the bodily world achieve union? You know, now remember, there's two sides of the coin of spirituality. There's sexuality and spirituality, and they're the same thing. but one is on one side of the coin, one's on the other. But the sexuality is union in the outer world. Spirituality is the union in, sexuality is the union in the outer world, and the spirituality is a different kind of union with the upper realms, not the lower realms, you know. But anyway, it was very instructive to me, at least, about the relationship with the feminine. So, what is the genuine feminine within us that we lack? Not what our art lacks, but what we lack in our most visceral aspect. I mean, the one that makes that we can feel in our arms and our legs. Now, you know, I tell my wife when she feeds me like a really good hot butternut squash or soup or some kind of chicken marabou, I can feel every cell in my body singing. Okay.
Mm.
So what aspect of the feminine makes every cell in our body sing? You know, that's an aspect that we need to think about it. You know, but anyway, let's see. I think we're. Why don't we just summarize it one more time, and then we'll
I
hear
could
if
throw in,
anybody else. Go ahead. Do you have any
yeah,
comments,
Yeah,
Tim?
yeah. Or
Charles? Oh, yeah.
It makes me think of just what I was reading in Man and His Symbols about like the kind of idea of that I'm not super clear on, but the mother and the anima or mother complex anima, whatever, needs to be like differentiated, and like the kind of idea of the kind of negative mother aspect that is depicted as like a witch or a dragon or something needs to be overcome before you can kind of reach the anima.
That's very important.
And it's kind of just like, it seems like maybe that complex is standing in the way of this dream. That's kind of just seems like that's the nature of how that functions. And that's just the main thought that I had about it.
Is there an issue left unresolved between us and the world of the feminine, which is barring us from the genuine relatedness with the feminine, the one that tells you when I tell her, "Oh, you're so beautiful, I just devoted to you, and I'm so grateful to you," and she says, you know, STFU, I don't want to hear about this. You know, you come to me as a genuine partner, and I will have a relationship with you, but not when you come to me groveling like this. That's not what I desire or what I need from anyone, particularly you. And I don't tolerate fools gladly, you know. So is there an aspect of the feminine, Tim, that you feel has been left unresolved? I mean, you don't have to talk about it here, but
Well, it's curious to me the distinction between the psychic feminine and the real world women around me, and I kind of credit Jung for having taught me the difference between those two realms, and I congratulate myself on being able to recognize that that these inner female characters are spirits. They're part of the spirit world, and need a different kind of relationship than real women in my life. But I'm wondering if just the lack of a partner doesn't affect this whole thing, because I was married for 20 years and got divorced about 12 years ago, and I've had sort of a couple of girlfriends since then, but nothing very long or serious in that time. So I'm wondering if my psyche is trying to make sense of that.
Well, I was just talking about this with Charles today, about, where Jung found if we were too isolated, like for instance, Marie Louise von Franz and Barbara Hanna were too isolated and they didn't seem like they were ever going to marry anyone. So he told them, you must live together, you two. And they didn't seem to have a lot in common, and neither one of them were that crazy about it. But what Marie Louise von Franz said, it was like this dream a patient had of a bear who was sitting outside its cave, and it was taking an obsidian stone and it was smoothing it in circular fashion. And she said, that is the smoothing from the friction of a relationship with another being, that is what we all need. I mean, we need to be experiencing this, even if it's painful or something, this intimate relatedness with an other in the outer world, and smoothing the obsidian stone. And that was actually a good image for my wife and I when we first started living together, because I told my analyst, I said it was as if we were back to back, when we first met, we seemed to need each other, but we didn't ever turn to face each other. We were relying upon each other, but it was with our backs facing each other. And then gradually we turned around like this. At least I thought so. And I heard her tell another analyst, well, I don't know how, if we're still have went past back to back yet, but anyway, it is something, it's a great mystery, of how to relate. Now, in the case of the man, now, first of all, I want to say something about like Sarah and Dawn and a lot of the women I know, these outer world women, who, whether they know it or not, they speak out of a different center, which I'm unfamiliar with, and it has a different aspect to it, which I find very soothing, I mean, for instance, like Charles Anima, he's trying to explain to her some, the mystery of the universe is a polarity and it has to do with electricity and magnetism. And she says, yes, Charles, yes. Tell me about it as we walk through the forest here. I'm listening. So what is she really doing? She's just listening. She doesn't care what she's listening, and we can say the most nonsense and she'll look at us and she'll nod her head. What really is important here is that we're talking, and that we're walking together, there's that aspect of that. There was, it's, the one thing I would say, and I get busted by saying this, where men want to understand, this is what Jung said one time, a woman wants to be understood, she wants to have another partner who recognizes her essence and values it, or gives her some, I don't know, I'm really out of my pay grade on this, but Sarah, I would say that in your case, I mean, there's just from what I've heard, you have the art of the gentle leading question, which my wife does all the time. My cousin in Norway, her husband died like 40 years ago, and I've been seeing her for like 30 years. She's my father's first cousin, and my wife goes there one time, and within 5 minutes of being there, she turns, her name's Johanna, and she turns to say, Johanna, haven't you fallen in love with any men in the last 40 years? And both me and her daughter are looking like horrified that she'd asked this question. But Johanna was so moved that anyone would be concerned about that. And it was just a wonderful experience to have that happen. And then, I'm with this Indian woman one time, and we eat dinner. I mean, I'm from East India, from the, in Orient. And after dinner, she comes over and she takes my hand and says, Craig, have you ever been in love before? Now, that was also a sort of a question that threw me into another realm. And, I knew one person who told me that they knew this analyst who never said a word that was not communicating with the other person on the deepest level, that all of her conversation was so, she just knew how to strip away all the fluff and get to the heart of the matter. I mean, she must have been very empathic, but anyway, but why don't I summarize this dream too? And Dawn, you'd be, remember, you can put anything in the chat, or if you want to share, just feel free to share. And I want to see if anybody has any comments on it, but let's just go through it again.
Also, Carl asked
yeah.
put a comment in the chat that I don't quite understand. Can you talk
I
about
know
that?
when I had felt unworthy of women, didn't have to say a thing. They didn't want anything to do with me. And when I'm okay, this isn't the case. Well, in my case, I think they realized that I just didn't get relatedness. I mean, I was such a strange, awkward being that they just, not you. I actually had a girl tell me that one time. She says, there's no use wasting time over you. You're just this odd. Now, see, this was in my early existence. I was this puer eternus air being. So, even though I had a fascination with women, they could see in me that I had no idea who I was. I wasn't comfortable in my own skin, and it was just hopeless, So there was that, But I think what I was telling Charles is the way I seem to have overcome that is to do the same way he did. I had to put my feet on the ground, not only my feet on the ground, but my hands on the earth too. I had to have both my hands and my feet on the earth, and then possibly something could occur, But anyway, let's just go through it again and see if anybody has any other comments. And then we can sleep on it too. And I think we always find something later. But we're visiting a house down the street. So it's on this place where life is, but this one is on down the street. So it's towards, I don't know if that has anything. And there are the fourfold anima lives there, or the fourfold woman lives there. The youngest one, the one who is probably the closest to the transformational part of this one I saw that jumped over a rock today, the golden woman girl with the ram's horns who jumped over a rock. I mean, this kind of reminds me of her. She's the one that invited us over. So we come over there, and it far exceeded our expectations. This is the palace of fascination. Everything we look at is there's nothing there that is not riveting and fascinating to our ego, you know. So we haven't seen the four women yet, but we know that this is a place of great fascination even without them. You know, the realm of the four women is fascinating. Okay. Yet while we're there, and it's seemingly with great expectation for what's going to occur next, suddenly, and Tim says this, we're not able to foresee this, boom, this authority feminine figure comes forward and bars us from entrance. Okay, sort of the authority figure of who is allowed entrance into this sacred realm. And I guess we're not eligible at this point. And so we're thrown out on the street, which is kind of a rude awakening. So now we're left thinking, well, wait a second. This, first of all, we recognize this was a magical place. We were anticipating the mysteries we would find there, and suddenly we're thrown out on the street. You know, now anybody could have thrown us out on the street. Didn't have to be the wise old woman, but it was this, in this case, the wise old woman threw us out on the street. You know, so this aspect barred us from this place. But we know that if we can get past this border guard, or, you know, what they would say, propitiate or expiate whatever sins that we committed against her, then we can come in. So what did we do to offend this guardian of all the boons of the feminine kingdom? What do we know? What do you think, Roy?
Yeah, I'm still along the same line. I was surprised when Tim said, oh yeah, the dream women are like spirits. And then there's the physical women, and you treat them different. Well, I don't agree with that. I don't see there's any difference. There's no physical anything, according to Jung. They're part of the psyche, whether it's spirit or physical. Well, they might appear different, but they're not. And it's probably best to treat them both the same.
My problem is somewhat related to Joseph Campbell's, where he taught women for 40 years at Sarah Lawrence College, and thought he had the aspect of the man which is fascinated, always is strained. I mean, a woman can awaken that sometimes with her magic, but it's the woman inside the one who casts the spell is not like that. She's more just like we are, but has this ability to weave magic, and at least in my case, I'm easily charmed, you know. But what Joseph Campbell said, he had thought he had gotten over this for 40 years of working with young women until he met his book publisher, Jackie Kennedy, you know. And then, you know, there was this aspect of her that she was too powerful for his ego to comprehend. Well, anyway, Sarah, this is probably all sort of, it's interesting for me as a man, to hear my wife works with troubled women all day. And I just happen to overhear a lot of the conversations. And it's like being in this, the house of the four fold anima. And I'm actually there listening to what's going on there. And before I wasn't eligible for entrance into that realm. And I'm listening to it. And, you know, it's just, it is actual human beings who happen to be women talking to each other. and without any men present, you know, and it's really is a revelation to me. But what do you think, Sarah? Any comments um, or did you don't have any? Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear what you think of Roy's comment that the feminine on the inside is the same as the
Feminine
woman
in the
world.
spirit.
Mhm.
I think that's probably true. You know, because I don't know, I have a hard time talking about this one, I guess. But I think what Roy said was true about the feminine in the body and the feminine in the spirit. They're definitely a lot alike, you know, because we're like the material of the feminine. So I definitely think that's true.
Mhm. You know, if you're in the let's just say you're in a place. Let me just try to put it in perspective that I could. That is an interesting question to me anyway. Is that if you're in a retreat where women are spending a week together, they are in a realm where they don't need to cast any magical spells. These are people just relating to each other. Now compare that to a woman who is looking, you know, is using some of her skills, and or a man. You can imagine a room of men, you know, where there's no women. I think it'd be a little more cruder. I don't know.
It's
But
definitely different.
yes, it's definitely.
Yeah. I've definitely seen my friends morph from one person, you know, to another when a man walks in the room. So
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
definitely
it
true.
just,
What I've seen that
yeah.
many times with certain women. You know, there's some women who are just, you know, they're just always who they are. But there's some who
Yes,
they like to become more magical, I guess you could
yes.
say. And they like to put on that show. To get that reaction that makes them feel confident and good about themselves. They want to see that man have that like longing or interest or, you know, that goo goo gaga, you know, like it makes them feel good.
And maybe that underlies what Ron just said, because the reason that magical thing works on some men is because they haven't done their inner work.
Right.
And so,
Right.
and so it could
And
be that those two
the women
elements
who
are
do that haven't either. The women who do that and put that on and try to get
right.
that haven't done their inner. They're not giving themselves from themselves what they need, so they're trying to get that from a man. You know, that acceptance or that you know, that awe almost. They're not getting it from themselves, and they need to get it from men.
They're
So
really
people that do, they're using each other. Yeah.
well, they're really using a persona, you know. They're well, for instance, Marilyn Monroe, you know, or somebody like that. What was she really like, you know?
Right.
But she could go out and just everyone was just immediately is you know, blown away by um, her anima projecting power, and she knows she has it. And but then you go into this room where a bunch of women are staying together all day. They can speak freely.
They can
They're not
slouch.
buying. They're not buying your flirtatious attitude here. You know, it doesn't work on me. You know, what were you gonna say, Sarah?
Yeah, women get more relaxed when there aren't men
Yes.
around. You know, they
Yeah.
can be more comfortable and just be themselves, and you know, wear their comfortable clothes. And it's almost too bad because I feel like they have more personality when a man isn't around than when a man is around, because they know that or feel that what they are really, what a man is looking for isn't their personality. It's something different. It's more physical. So they definitely change their posture, their face, the way they move their body in order to get that reaction from the man instead of using their personality, and who they really are.
You know, and I have a cousin who is gay, and he is telling me that he doesn't like to be in the world of breeders. He told me he lives in Minneapolis, but there's this David Sedaris, a friend of David Sedaris. You know who David Sedaris is? He's a writer and he's kind of a humorist. His sister's Amy Sedaris, and he's really funny. But anyway, one of his friends made a movie called Do I Sound Gay? He's trying to learn how to talk so he doesn't sound gay. And it is if you ever see it on Netflix or something, it's really worth watching. And when you see all of these men who are gay all together, the energy in that room is really amazing. Compared when every one of them there is gay and there is no non-gay man in the room, the energy there is just beautiful. There's just this aspect of it is just wonderful, and it's something that I'm not really used to. So what's going on here? It's just this little bit of magic. I mean, there's this magical spell that is comes to fruition, comes here. Is it valuable? Is it something that we should value? I value it. I don't care how phony it is. Let's say what this does. I always ask my wife this. Can you imagine food that had no aroma or no taste? And it wasn't hot or cold, it was just room temperature. And that was the only food there was. Well, what kind of world would that be? No, we want these ones with the je ne sais quoi and this wonderful textures and flavors and unexpected surprises. I mean, there's just that aspect of that world, and of course being on one side of it, and I wasn't asked to be here, but I'm here, and so you're very unfamiliar and unconscious of the other side, and it's so that makes it even more puts it in the realm of mystery. The house down the street where the fourfold anima lives, that is surrounded by fascinating objects, almost like a museum. Isn't this a wonderful place to visit? I can't wait to learn more. And then suddenly, boom, we're out on the street. That's just very interesting.
It reminds me of some women too. Some women will they'll get a guy, to feel comfortable and to like them, and then bam, they kind of turn on them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a familiar personality type, not in myself, but I'm close to people who are like that.
Yeah, it is. There's that aspect of it that, to some extent, because of the power of the feminine magic, she needs to protect herself from being overwhelmed by too many, and she has to wait until the right one comes along. So, what's the only way that she can do that is with an aloof wall that protects her because her magic is too powerful, and she's getting hit on all the time, whether she wants it or not, and so how does she needs to have some antidote to her magical spell, which is clear and don't violate it, But anyway, it's just a great mystery. Hi, Patricia.
Hi, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. We're just well, Tim, let's sleep on that dream a little bit, and unless you have any more, why don't you kind of sum up any thoughts you have about it?
Well, this is fascinating, and it's an ongoing issue for me, both in my professional world, where the muse is my boss, and she's the one that gives me all my ideas and everything. But also, because she is so powerful, she's always been so powerful. It's been kind of an extra challenge to me to try to relate in a sort of a reasonable way to other women in the world. But Roy, I'm really kind of impressed with your comment that they're the same, and I need to spend some time writing about that. So I think this is really, really helpful. Thanks very much.
Yeah, well, we'll sleep on it. Now, Patricia, we have your, and by the way, Patricia, if you would put your email in the chat so we can include you on the email. I don't know if you guys remember, but we were working on Patricia's dream last time. And I'm going to put it in the chat, and let's see what we can do with it here. See if I've got all of it in there. Yeah, I think that's all of it. So it's just, do you want to tell the dream, Patricia? Or
Sure, if
Yeah.
you want to.
yeah,
Yep.
okay.
So, in my dream, there was this big ocean. It was nighttime. There was this big ocean with small waves and big waves. And at the beginning of my dream, I'm just by myself in this boat. The color was white. And I've been trying to think about the dream. They were like, all the boats were motor boats, but they didn't have an engine. They didn't have a motor at the back. So I don't know, but they were moving. The thing is that I'm in this white boat, and then all of a sudden I'm in a way bigger one. And the one I was previously looked like a toy boat. And it was like drifting away from where I was, and it was going toward the right direction. And the bigger boat where I am now, my daughter is with me, and I am facing the water, and I am actually touching the water, and my daughter is facing the inside of the boat. And I could see that there was a boat with 8 women going towards the north direction. And in that boat, nobody was driving that boat, but there were 8 women, 4 on one side and the other 4 on the other side. And the boat I'm in, it's going to the left. And when my daughter said, "Oh, look, your boat is drifting away." And I said, "It's okay, we're not losing anything." But when I turned myself to answer to my daughter, I could see there were 2 figures. I just saw the back of those 2 figures. They were like those medieval monks with this kind of brown, reddish, hooded capes, those medieval capes that the monks will use. And they were driving the boat I'm in now. And ocean felt so wild and so powerful. So, but that was the moment when I woke up, but I didn't feel afraid at all. I was like in amazement. I was like in awe. And that's it.
Let's just give it a try here and start on it. I mean, the one thing is to do, and I think in Tim's dream too, I know if I go over it again tomorrow, I will, I think I will have a better handle on it. And so sometimes the more we go through it over and over again, it really starts to speak to us. But anyway, we're first of all, we're on the surface of the great unconscious, okay? And we are in a vehicle that keeps us afloat on the great unconscious. As far as we know, there's no land in sight. So the thing that keeps ego above this unconscious is this vehicle that is buoyant on the surface of the unconscious. Okay, now it starts out with different groupings and different mixtures of consciousness in these different sized boats. In the first dream, you're on a little boat, so we're all by ourselves, and then all of a sudden, from the boat of the individual, all alone in the world, on the unconscious, we are now with the daughter, now with the growing thing. So now it's not just us, it's us in that thing, the aspect in us that's the growing thing. So there's the aspect of us and that part of us that's becoming, okay, the younger aspect of ourselves. And then we look back on that boat where we are all alone without that growing aspect of ourselves, and it just looks so tiny, like a toy boat, because it really didn't possess the psychic power that we needed. We needed to have the growing aspect. We needed to have the becoming thing and us. We couldn't be there just with ego. If we're there with ego and the growing thing in us, that is, what is it growing towards? It's growing towards the other side. And so now both sides are being represented. We're not one-sided. And then that growing thing says, look at your boat, it's drifting away. And then the ego knows, I'm not losing anything. I'm here, but now I've got you with me. So I'm not losing anything, you know. And then now the toy boat is going off into the realm of consciousness, the one which we've left and which is of no use to us now, okay? Because we're not going that direction anymore. We're going inward, okay? And we are, and it's going to this upper realm, and we are going into the lower realms, or we're not going into the upper realms of consciousness. We just came from there, you know, and that was not fruitful. It didn't possess this growing aspect of ourselves. And then there was another boat now. This is the second boat. This one has a double set of four women. And the boat, it's going in the direction of wholeness, okay? Now, what's interesting in here, Patricia, maybe you can explain it to us, but I don't see anything in here of the male principle yet. You know, the 4 is a feminine number, and there's 8 women there, and we're there with
The
our
monks.
daughter.
The monks.
Well,
Oh, where
yes,
are the
I was
monks?
about to tell you that I felt, I didn't see their faces, but I felt that the 2 monks were males. That's
Okay,
what
now
I felt.
I didn't see that in the text, I guess. Yeah. But
Oh,
the
yeah,
monk,
yeah. I think I just pasted what I wrote
Okay.
to Tim.
all
That's
right.
why, and
Yeah, if you could repeat what you said about the monks.
yeah, well, in the boat I'm in now, the bigger boat, I'm in. When I turned to my daughter to tell her, it's okay, we're not losing anything. When I turned to see her, I saw two figures. They were like two monks, and they were driving. I felt like they were driving the boat I'm in now. And they had these medieval like robes or capes.
Yes.
They had a hood, like the monks, that medieval monks, and it was like a mustard color. It was like a brownish, reddish, I don't know, but I couldn't see their faces. But
Okay.
they were driving this boat.
All right. Well, the guiding.
So there's 4 people in that.
Yes.
Mhm.
Great. Okay. There's the daughter, and the 2 monks.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So it's the animus principle is there, or the logos principle is there. Yeah. At this point, it's faceless. And so we're still in a very feminine realm. And I want, why don't we just, I just want to finish the last part, that the boat you're with your daughter is going into the direction of the unconscious, into the left. And even though the ocean looks like the one on your picture, you have your legs out of the boat and you're touching water. So your standpoint right now has something to do with the depths. So this is a dream of a very intimate connection with the depths. Well, anyway, that's a start. I don't say we accomplished anything. What do you think, Roy?
Oh yeah, you did an excellent job, but she slipped the monks in on you. So
Yes.
that's a big piece
Yes,
of
right.
information. So I like what you said. And I guess all I want to say, because you're doing such a good job on it, Greg, is how different Patricia's unconscious is from Tim's. All this water, she's dipping her feet in the water, she's feeling the water. Tim doesn't seem to have any of that. Tim knows Patricia. They need to have a conversation about water. I hope they do. I want to hear about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, and Charles has a lot of water in his dreams, but it tends to be something he's drowning in, where Patricia's very buoyant on it, seems very comfortable there. Tim, did you have any comments on what Roy said, or?
Yeah, all of a sudden, this makes me think of another really compelling dream that I've been chewing on, that involves 2 kind of crazy women in a river, one of whom I saved by clamping my legs around her and pulling her out of the river. And we'll deal with that at a different time. But there's some real dynamism going on with these images, and Patricia's. I wrote to her about this just on my own, and so I'm gonna get confused by what I said to her and what I'm saying to you. But it seemed to me that I was really impressed with the balance of the 2 quaternities facing each other.
Yes.
And the directions, the 4 directions, and the smaller boat is going, it's going to the right, and the other one is maybe going to the left. I think I derived that somehow. Which which is
The one with the 8 women. Oh, sorry.
No,
the
go
one with the 8 women is going north, and
Going
the one I'm in is going left.
No, north would be in Indian, like where the 2 boys go, 2 brothers go to find their father, and Spider-Woman tells them, go any direction but north. And of course, that's the direction that they need to go, because it's it is the direction of the unknown. No one has been north. I mean, this in for some reason, our northern realms are very sparsely populated. The far north,
And in the Lakota symbolism, north is a direction of healing and rest.
Yes. Yeah, it
And
is. Yeah.
So we've got the smaller boat going right. The one that you're in is going left, and the one with the 8 women is going north.
Yeah, and often a double 4 has to do with the 4 outer directions of outer of outer space, and then the 4 inward directions that as above so below. I mean, they represent the 4 directions of inner space, which has to do with the functions of the individual arising out of the unconscious. Has to do with differentiating thinking, feeling, sensation, and intuition. Jung says that when those differentiated, suddenly ego consciousness came into being. Now, don't ask me why, but that was, we just leave that as an open mystery. What do you think, Sarah? Any comments on the imagery?
I really like what you said, Craig. Kind of how she's leaving the small boat of the conscious into the larger boat with her daughter into the unconscious to the left. I think that's really interesting. It's like you're almost like you're leveling up. So you're leaving the small boat that falls away, and your daughter is, oh no, it's leaving, but that's okay, because now you're on to the unconscious. You're on to this new level or area or boat, because you're growing. And I wonder if the women going north, I just keep thinking of like balance, because how there's 4 on each side, so it's balanced and it's going north. I wonder if maybe that's the next boat for you.
Yeah, it's definitely is the most archetypal boat. Okay, now in our boat, the boat that we were on with just our ego is the small boat, and that's drifting away, but we're not losing anything. But we can't go to the inner world unless ego consciousness has a expanding aspect, and that's represented by the daughter. And that's what really the word imaginal realms mean. It comes from the word to magnify. That means to expand. In other words, there's areas of consciousness that are going to expand here, and it's represented by the daughter, who is the growing aspect of consciousness. What do you think?
I think it's
yeah, go ahead, Sarah. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I just also thought it was really interesting how the boat to the left, the new boat that you're on, is being steered by the men of wisdom.
Yes. Yeah, the faceless animus of the most spiritual aspect of the male principle, one who's renounced, has given everything to the unconscious, throws away all its clothes, is not living as a husband. They devoted their lives to the psyche, and those are the ones that are leading us. So it's very much the wise old man. What do you think, Gary?
Yeah, I don't have much to add on this, but one of the things that does strike me is with the boat with the 8 women, it's like, okay, so this is something that's now within consciousness, but it's not united. So it's like, you've gained this larger awareness, and then you can now see, something else which would be, a great gain. And then the monks, the spiritual part of the animus, which is necessary, this increased understanding and awareness, is leading you towards that.
The boat that floats on the unconscious with the 8 women in it is the one that can fully operate in both the upper world and the lower world. You know, it's the one that is fully manned to operate at the highest level of completeness and wholeness in the upper world and in the lower world. You know, I think that's what the double 4 somewhat represents. And the aspect of the highest ideal of the feminine principle. Now remember, we're not when we're talking, we all, men and women, possess this male principle and the feminine principle. One who, like myself, was accidentally born a man is less conscious of his feminine side, and a woman who's accidentally born a woman is more familiar with the feminine side and less conscious of the masculine side, just because this is how I operate. I operate in the male sphere, and this is how I navigate. And I've never navigated with the feminine side of myself, so I'm less familiar with it, like I would be with an inferior function, you know. But for a man, the reason there's a 3 is because he's not really complete, because he's missing the earth. You know, he's an air being, where a woman possesses the highest ideal in feminine is completeness. The highest ideal in man is an ideal abstraction, you know, perfection, you know, which doesn't really exist, where women is concerned with more of the practical reality of completeness, you know. Anyway, I don't know if I'm digressing a little too much there. What do you think, Carl?
Hi. Yeah, I was just struck by the 8 symbolism. Made me think of the Noble Eightfold Path. I know there's a lot of, I think 8 is also considered like a very powerful, a number of power. You know, she's headed to the left. That obviously, like everyone said, that's symbolizes the unconscious, and she's heading into I think possibly, you know, a more spiritual life. You know, I mean, her psyche inside is symbolizing that. Her. That's what I got. That's about it.
You know, well, I would say, and if we're going to the left, we're going to the unfamiliar area, which ego consciousness knows little of, yet is lacking something, you know, and that often is not, it isn't often just spirit. It's sometimes groundedness and rootedness and earthiness, you know. Now, in Patricia's case, it's the unknown aspect of Patricia, the aspect of Patricia's ego that she's unfamiliar with would be on the left-hand side, you know. Now, I'll tell you, when I'm in my, when I'm at the top of this place I always go down to in active imagination, my right eye is blind. If I turn to look with my right eye, there's nothing there, you know. It's just totally blank, you know. So I can only go to the left, you know, and so it's left centric. And what Jung said once, and I don't think it really is the only thing, is that is the side of the heart, you know. That's the side our heart is on, you know. And so we're turning towards life and towards heart, the heart, you know. In fact, it was in Gerhard Dorn, you know, when body, spirit, and soul meet love. I mean, what they're trying to do is trying to find out what the heart wants. They don't want to know what the gods want. They want to know what the heart wants. So that's one aspect of what turning to the left is. And then it's very interesting to me that this completeness is going into the unknown realms. It's coming from the unknown realms and it's going into another unknown realm, which is in the northern directions. Okay, Charles, let's hear your always surprising take on it.
This makes me think of it makes me think of my hamster actually, because I had a dream where my hamster's cage was way too small for it. And obviously in this dream, you are getting a bigger boat. And I just kind of, naturally make the comparison there. And yeah, the idea of the monks piloting the boat is really interesting. It's a inner journey that, you had a inadequate vessel prior. You've upgraded and you're on your way. I think everyone already said a lot of good stuff about it already. It just makes me think of my hamster and my hamster dreams.
Well, let me ask just one parting question to everyone. Let's say we have a dream tomorrow night. That's the continuation of the dream. What happens next? Roy, do you have any guesses? What happens next?
In a dream?
In this dream.
Only this dream?
The one that it hasn't been told to us what happens next. But do you have any guess?
No, I have no guess
Okay.
with these animuses at the wheel.
How about you, Sarah? Do you have any guesses about what would probably happen?
I'm just wondering if maybe they find land or an island or
Yes.
some sort of earth. Yeah. Some sort of, life growth.
It is one. Now, Charles has had a few of these where he's looking for islands, but I never have heard, and Patricia, we need to give you the last word. I have never heard a dream that took place totally on the surface of the unconscious. Now, I don't say that's good or bad, but it's just, it is a wonderfully concentrated theme,
Can I?
Yes,
Sorry.
please. I think maybe we
Can I
should
tell you something? And I don't know if it's continuation of that dream, but just this morning when I woke up, I don't remember the dream. It's just the last image.
Mhm.
And in this image, there were 3 persons, 2, and all of them had rods on them. 2 were male, 1 was a woman. And they were, the woman was separated from the 2 men, but they had the same kind of robes, but the men's robes were black with white symbols on the chest. It's like embroidery. And the woman, her dress was white and the embroidery was black. And I saw the symbols and I told myself, I need to remember those symbols. But as soon as I opened my eyes, I just remembered the 3 persons there. So I don't know if it's related to the other dream, and that's the only image I have. I cannot say anything else.
Yeah, it almost sounds like what Carl is saying, yin and yang. Sounds like the Taoist symbol, the black with the white in the circle and the white with the black in the circle. But anyway, unless anybody has some final comments on this dream, why don't we pick this one up Wednesday if you're going to be here, Patricia. If not, well.
Sure, I'll be here.
Yeah.
I love the way you guys explain the dreams, and yeah, thank you.
Well, yes, and I would like to just think about it and then come back and give a after we've incubated it a little bit. And I also want to incubate Tim's dream a little bit. And I
Say,
want him,
Patricia, did you get a chance to do the drawing that you mentioned?
I'm working on it. I'm trying to have like a diary of my dreams, but with drawings. And I'm having a hard time making the ocean like, I mean, like your ocean. And but once I'm done, I'll show it to you.
one
Great.
thing I do is I just put a horizon and then just waves going on.
Yeah.
Just a little peak like this, but that's because
But it
I'm
has to express, you know, the ocean in my dream felt so powerful and
yes. Okay,
like
there you go.
wild, you know. So I need to express that.
Was there a lot of what was powerful about it? Can you just say that what you thought was
Well,
powerful?
it was like everything, the waves, the color, although it was dark, but there was some lines shining, you know, and it felt, I don't know, it's like when you're looking at a wild horse
Mhm.
and that you can perceive all the strength, the power, and I don't know.
The sea
Just the
spray that
feeling.
leaves little salt on all the buildings near the beach. You know, it's just a real very interesting of the great ocean like in Hawaii, the sea spray. You know,
Yeah.
is really smells. You can smell it from far away. You know, this
Yeah.
place we were in Hawaii, I could smell the sea spray, and we were like a block away from the ocean. But anyway, unless anyone has some final words of wisdom, we'll pick this up on Wednesday. Anybody bursting at the seams? Okay, and you know. I don't know who's next, but I would guess that Roy is due, or anyway, anybody that can come with the dream will take it. First come, first serve. But anyway, we'll see you next Wednesday.
Thanks
Hope to see
everybody.
y'all.
That's really great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Always
Take care.
means so much to me. So thank you guys. See you later.
Have a
Thanks,
good
Doug.
night.
You too.
Take care.
Bye now.